Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I made a few videos on the topic of Solomon Islands and the reason why I made these videos is because I like when countries seem to act independently from the big club's influence. Unfortunately, in the case of Solomon Islands, I hope that their decisions and their boldness, their courage, is not due to the fact that they just switched a master for another master. I hope that's not the case. I hope that the Solomon Islands are sovereign and really independent, and they make their foreign decisions, they conduct their foreign affairs in an independent and self-interested way, looking only for their country's interest, and not because I have to do this because I'm afraid of them or I benefit. Yes, I benefited because my country benefits, and I can get rid of that whenever I feel like. I'm not tight in that kind of situation where I become a servant or a vassal state. So this new article that I have here is from today, the October 3rd, 2022, from Associated Press. And this is the title: Solomon Islands agreed to accord with America after China references axed outside cut excluded. They refused to sign the accords, and the Americans had to change the whole thing for Solomon Islands. Now let me applaud that. Not because they showed the finger to the big master that stick its nose everywhere, and supposedly they're allies and partners, which there's no such a thing. I use you for as long as I need you, and then I just submerge you there and I take care of you. That's what works with each and every country. Don't get me wrong. The problem is that the United States is the boss right now, and it's been for about 30 years. And when things will change, and they will change, I mean, look at the United States had a hegemony for 30 years, and Rome had for what? 1,300 years or so? From 732 or something like this BCE until what? 430 or something, 450 or something like this. That's the Roman Empire. Now you put that in the context with 30 years of the United States. When these guys are thinking about the American Empire, it makes me laugh. You're just a little fart in an ocean. That's why boop, boop, and that's it. That was United States in the history. I mean, don't kid yourself, and don't start it in 1776, because United States really became important only after the Europeans blew themselves up in the Second World War. Then the United States became important. Before that, as the Japanese said, I think it was the Prime Minister at that time, he said, well, let's attack United States. What do they know to do? Just razor blades, that's all. Well, I think that they made a miscalculation there, didn't they? Because they changed from that razor industry into other kind of industries, and worked hard and calculated and scientific and blew them up. Now, let's get going with this article. Wellington, New Zealand. Solomon Islands agreed to sign an accord between the United States and more than a dozen Pacific nations only after indirect references to China were removed, the Solomon Islands foreign minister said Tuesday. There were some references that put us in a position where we'll have to choose sides, and we did not want to be placed in a position where we have to choose sides. Jeremiah Menele told reporters in Wellington. His remarks represent the first time Solomon Islands has publicly acknowledged it had initial concerns about the agreement and expressed why it had a change of heart. The accord was signed in Washington last week, with President Joe Biden telling visiting Pacific leaders that the U.S. was committed to bolstering its presence. You don't want that. Bolstering this presence meaning these guys with weapons and they take over you. But they received money. They received money. That's what they did. And become a more collaborative partner. There's no such a thing as partner. Maybe on the paper. In reality, the administration pledged the U.S. would add $110 million in new aid for Pacific Islands. That's bribery. You're my people, I give you money. Forget about China. But what China is going to do is going to come with its counter offer, and it's going to be greater than $810 million. The summit came amid growing U.S. concern that they outbid China for now, about China's military and economic influence in the Pacific. But the final agreement focused mainly on issues like climate change, economic growth, and natural disasters. A small section on security contained mostly broad language, and while it specifically condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it made no mention of China. Ahead of the summit, diplomats had said Solomon Islands was signaling it was unlikely to sign the joint declaration, which would have represented a diplomatic blow for both the U.S. and the Pacific nations. Many in the U.S. and the Pacific had been eager to get Solomon Islands on board after becoming alarmed, I don't know why, about the increasing ties between Solomon Islands and China, especially after the two nations signed a security agreement earlier this year. Unless you say China is evil, then you are alarmed. Why would you? Did you look on the map, on my little globe, to see where they are? I did it like each and every time. United States and Solomon Islands. Let me show you. So United States right here, okay? Solomon Islands not here. Solomon Islands not here. Solomon Islands not here. It's right here. So from here to here, that's a long way. And guess what China is? Right here. So China is closer to Solomon Islands than Solomon Islands and the United States. So who's neighbors with whom? Even Australia is about 2,000 kilometers southwest of Solomon Islands. Vicinity. Okay, so why is the United States concerned? Anyway, I understand it, but I'm just, Now, in the initial drafts, there were some references they were not comfortable with. We were not comfortable with. But then with the officials, after discussions and negotiations, we were able to find common ground, Menele said. Very good. Pressed further by reporters on those concerns, Menele acknowledged the draft had contained indirect reference to China. He said the Solomon Islands security agreement with China was part of a national security strategy, so bye. And there was no provision in it for China to build a military base as some had feared. All right. So Menele says Solomon Islands was a young democracy. These are emerging issues. There are challenges that a young country, will find ways to discuss. Good for them. Great. They showed balls to be able to do this with China and scare the Americans. We were like 3,000 million, trillion, billion away from Solomon Island, but they felt threatened, their security. But Russia could not be, scared or have any security concerns with Ukraine being next to it. But it was concerned for its security in the Pacific. Really? You're really on the diagonal and you feel concerned about it. How about having some missiles in Russia, having some missiles, let's say, in Nicaragua, where they will probably have? What are you going to do about it? You're going to say, it's okay, because that's what you expected the Russians to say about Ukraine having NATO infrastructure next to them. Buddy. But, You expect justice and objectivity and fairness and partnership and how they call over there, the partners or whatever they are, yeah, allies. Nah. I'm stronger. We give a pretense that we are partners, but you know and I know that I'm the one who calls the shots here, and you just follow what I say. Otherwise I smack you one time that you get dizzy. You don't know what's your name anymore. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.